All right, what's up, everybody?
Here we
We're
go.
we're slowly streaming in here.
What's happening, people? Let's see. Get a couple others coming in. Welcome, welcome. Good to see the familiar faces as usual.
Yeah, there they
All
are.
right, all right.
I feel incomplete if Joan is not sitting next to the pool.
Poolside in her
Yeah.
lanai.
Right.
That's what that's called, is a lanai. I learned that when I was down in Florida. Such a fancy word for pool with screen over it.
Pool with mosquito screens.
With mosquito net.
Yeah.
Fancy mosquito net.
It's all about branding. You call it a lanai, and then I need one of those.
Yep. Yeah, it's pretty sweet. A little fancier than the pool I grew up with. Old school pool.
the above ground.
The above ground with a deck built around it.
15-foot pool. That's what we had in our city house. It was a really big hot tub in the summer.
Oh man, we had some good times at that pool though.
Yeah, that was good. That was probably 35 pounds ago. Anyway.
Yeah. Yes, it was.
Those are well-earned Budweiser pounds.
Yes, they were.
Good
Well, what's
Lord.
going on, everybody? Everybody's looking good. Hopefully, weather's starting to perk up a little bit. I know it is around here. We've had some glimmers. We've had actually got out and played 9 holes. Was that? Oh, I guess that was 2 weekends ago. But I've been out to the range. My son is actually at golf tryouts this week, so I
forgot about that.
Went with him to the range this past weekend, and then we went. I went out there while I was waiting for him. So it's funny. Not Sunday, Tuesday. So he's trying out for the freshman team, and it sounds like the competitive level of making the team is not that great. I actually think that all the kids trying out, if he has his information correct, all the kids trying out will be on the team for the freshman team, because I think they take like 16 kids, and I want to say only 14 went out there. So that's great. And Sam has never played competitive golf at all, but has a good swing, loves to play, but just hasn't played a ton. And so it'll be great for him to be able to get the repetitions and have a little bit of instruction. I don't know how much instruction they'll actually get, but they'll get to play a lot, and I think at his age, repetition is great. And then we'll actually, if he makes the team in once, we'll connect him with Casey here and maybe just get a lesson or two just to give him some fundamentals. But so Monday they go out, and it was just 30 minutes driver range, 30 minutes short game, 30 minutes putting. And it sounded like the coaches really weren't paying much attention to the freshmen.
Right.
So very low.
Nobody does.
Nobody does. Very low pressure. They're really probably just looking at the juniors and seniors, maybe some of the sophomores. But Tuesday, he went out and had to play 9 holes. This is the first time that he's ever really gone out without an adult. He was in a group of 4 freshmen. One of the Fitzgerald boys, was with him. And so the 4 of them go out, and I picked him up that afternoon. I'm like, well, how was it? He's like, it was awful. Like, I was so bad. I was, yeah. And, he's like, I think I had a 10 on the first and second hole. He's like, I hit it in the bunker. I couldn't get it out of the fairway bunker. Then I finally got it out and went in the next bunker. It was on the lip, so I had to hit it backwards. He's walking me through this whole thing. And I'm like, I bet you're pretty frustrated out there, huh? He's like, yeah, but I settled myself down, and he's like, the other kid I was playing with was about the same as me. He's like, 2 kids, one of Bill's kids. He's like, they were better than me, but the other kid was just as bad as me. So I didn't feel so bad. But it was like, it was kind of cool because I saw that he got frustrated. So first it meant that Sam's never been like a super competitive kid. And so I could see that it irked him a little bit that he wasn't great at it. I mean, how can you expect to be? And so it was a great opportunity to chat. Like, yeah, this is golf, and this is why it's so crazy that so many of us think that we can go out there even once a week and play, and we think that we're supposed to be so good at this game. And it's so frustrating. And like, the cool thing is if you make this team, you're just going to get a bunch of repetition. So think of this as like the beginning point of how good you can get.
Right.
And so, it's just a good conversation to have. And then yesterday went and did the same thing at the driving range, short game. And then today they were going out to play again. And so I sent him a text this morning and was just like, hey man, remember, just take your time, every shot, take your time, have an intention on your shot, but have fun. And remember that like the coaches at your level, and I was talking to a client of mine, he said this to me and I was like, I'm going to text that over to Sam. It's like the coaches at your level aren't really looking for the highest skill of player. Like they know that all of you guys are kind of a bunch of knuckleheads and probably haven't played a whole lot. There's going to be a couple kids that, grew up at a country club or have had a chance to play a lot and they'll be decent. But for the most part, they're expecting you guys to come in and not be great. What they're looking for is a kid that has a good attitude, a kid that goes out and like, they want to see how you react out on the course, because that will show them like what kind of a kid, how coachable you are, how much you're willing to work, how competitive you are, but also that you're not an asshole, really, so just remember, like, it's all about your attitude. It's about what are you going to do for your next shot, and go ahead and have fun out there. So it was kind of a good refresher to, look in the mirror and say that to myself as well.
Yeah. I'm sure both of us have shot a 10 on hole number 1 from time to time.
Oh, I mean, I was just watching a video on Instagram of John Daly when he got his scorecard. He had an 18 on a hole. Yeah. It was a huge, dog leg around the water, kind of I don't know if it was a par 4 or par 5, but tried to go to the green with the driver and hit it in the water, and then tried it with 3-wood and hit it in the water and hit it in the water again. So
kept it.
Shot a legit 18 in a PGA event. I should send that to Sam too. But we all have those days out there.
Now, Sam, you're allowed to pick up at practice. You don't need to hit 18.
Yeah.
Be all right.
Right. But yeah, like this was the first time he ever had to like report a score. Like they had to take the scorecard in and give it to the coach and
slide it over.
See if he can duck out real quick.
Oh my God. So that's funny. So my brother Tim, Bodine's cousin, obviously, is one of the better golfers that we know are in the family.
Best golfer in the family for sure.
Yeah, for sure. But so he was on the golf team just 1 year in high school, never saw a real match, but just from doing that one season, he got so much better from playing golf 5 times a day. And he's 5 times a week, and he's almost 40 now.
Yeah.
That's carried over.
Yeah. It's like, kind of like riding a bicycle kind of a thing. Not that you're going to pick up your clubs and play perfectly, but like at this age, neurologically, physically, they're so, I guess plastic is a good word, where they are able to develop and learn and adapt so much better. And so with them building these repetitions and hopefully, building a good base. And that's why I would love to then bring him for him to work with Casey a couple times just to get some foundational stuff. Cause then, for the rest of his life, 1 year of playing 5 times a week at age 15 could be the lifetime of his golf game, having a really good, solid golf swing and golf game.
Yeah, I think Timmy, he's one of those other guys. He's so frustrating to play with because he doesn't swing hard. I think he's just a good ball striker because he seems to always hit the right spot on the club, no matter how hard he swings.
Well, he's efficient with his movements, right? In fact, I think we mentioned this on a couple calls. When I played with him in Nashville, there were a couple of times where he took some swings at it, which was a little uncharacteristic of him. And I saw him hit a couple shots that I hadn't seen him hit before because he was trying that. But then when he did get one of those, it went a long way, right? But his swing, I've always equated, Chris Kirk won the Honda this past weekend. I've always kind of equated Timmy's swing to Chris Kirk, where it just looks like he's not really putting a whole lot of effort into it, but just makes great contact and it just goes. And you're like, how did he hit it that far by barely? Like Chris Kirk, I feel like he gets to the top of his swing, and it almost looks like he's just like dropping his arms and just forgetting that he's playing golf. Like his arms just kind of fall and kind of stop. But and that's how Timmy's swing is. But like that's an efficient golf swing. It doesn't look like a lot of effort is being put in, but there's not a whole lot of leaks in it, right? So like he's moving very succinctly, moving very efficiently, letting the body do the rotation, letting the hands and arms do what they need to do, but not trying to muscle it anywhere.
Yeah, right. And his feet are always really close together, which typically means more control, more accuracy. So yeah, and I feel like I get a hold of some of them, and he's right there with me.
Yeah, right.
Sometimes ahead of me.
Well, that's because you get a hold of it, and yours travels from left to right about 30 yards.
That's on a good day.
You guys, if you ever saw Ryan can generate some serious speed in his golf swing, but just there's a couple things that need to be fixed to get rid of his left to right move, because he does, you really do lose quite a bit from, with that left to right move there.
A power fade.
Yeah.
Yes. On a good day, it's a power fade.
That's right.
A windy day, it's a major slice.
Yeah. Did you guys, anybody catch the end of the Honda last weekend? It's pretty exciting stuff.
Yeah, I thought I saw it. I don't know about you guys. Yeah, I thought he kind of pooped the bed and then pulled it out. That was neat.
Yeah, I don't know why he went for that par 5 in 2. He had 257 yards over water to a tucked pin, and he decides to go. I don't know if he hit a hybrid or a 3-wood or whatever he hit, but it's like, why not? Why are you not laying up with a 1-shot lead? I think it's a 1-shot lead, right?
Yep.
And then that Eric Cole kid, man, he was a stud all day long, and just had a little too much on that chip on 18 where Chris Kirk left the door open for him. He just put a little too much on it, and unfortunately didn't get up and down there. But that kid had a life-changing day there, even though he didn't win, which really would have been life-changing. I think he won like $900,000 or 900 plus just by coming in second place.
Yeah, the purses are so great right now. And then I read that they've got 8 no-cut events they're going to be working with. So smaller field
in 24. Cuts. Yeah, so I think that's pretty interesting. There's a lot of back and forth going on, and I would love to hear some of your guys' take on this. A lot of back and forth going on of, the PGA Tour is now, those events are looking a lot more like, the live format.
Oh yeah.
Obviously not the shotgun start, not the 54-hole event, but I saw Max Homa. He had a press conference where they posted some stuff on there, and he was, kind of touting why it was good. I love the idea that all these guys are playing in these elevated events. I think that it makes those events that much better. What I don't really understand is why get rid of the cut there, though. I just feel like if you have, say you got a guy that just kind of like blows up on day 1 and 2, and he's 15 shots out of it, like he's just there to collect a check and has to just play ho-hum the rest of the weekend. Like, I know you're playing for points and for money, but either way, those guys are collecting a pretty fat check at the end of those weekends. So what's the incentive of that guy? The guys that are, 50 and below on the scorecard on a Friday, it's like, oh, we're just going to play 2 more days and make some money.
Yeah, maybe they should let them booze on the course, since it's just kind of a recreation at that point. Well, I'm not going to win. So.
Kevin Kisner, bring out the speakers and let them just do their thing. Yeah,
take the golf cart while you're at it.
I mean, I feel like, it basically kind of turns it into those WGC events, those World Golf Championship events, where all the guys are there. They're all getting a huge check and there's no cut. I don't know. It's just a little less exciting to me with not having the cut line.
Yeah, that makes Fridays way more interesting.
Yeah. But, there's a good article by that Dylan Dethier. He was in that Full Swing on Netflix. Mm-hmm. And he kind of laid out some of the pros and cons of it, saying one of the things that he said was, not having the cut was one of those that he didn't quite care for. But what is kind of cool is these elevated events, like people will be moving in and out of those. He kind of equated it to like the Premier League,
Right.
where throughout the season, like, you've got 70 or 78 spots for these events, but based on your points, like one guy might be in it for the first designated event or elevated event, whatever they call it. And then based on how he plays and another guy playing in another event, like they might flip flop. So one gets relegated, one gets promoted. So that's kind of cool. And it definitely does reward the best of the players to be in these events with these huge purses. But I don't know. I'd like to see, there's pros and cons to both. I'd like to see some more reasons why people like it or why people don't. Anybody else? Anybody on the call have any thoughts on any of these? I'm curious to hear what you guys think.
Don't you think that no cut there is just to secure those players for not going, over to live? I mean, we're talking about the 50 best players on the PGA. They don't want to have anybody more going over to live. So with these sort of events with the guaranteed money, it's for us, as Ryan said, it's not as cool. It's not as nice. The Friday comes and, it's not as exciting. So I don't personally like it, but I think it's just to secure the PGA Tour that they won't disappear.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that's definitely a part of it. I mean, money's obviously the big thing here. It'd be interesting to know, like after this year, let's say you're like a Hayden. Let's say you end up on the 75th ranked player in the PGA Tour, whatever it is. What would you have made 2 years ago versus this year versus if you'd have spent this year on the Live Tour?
Yeah.
I guess someone can figure that out pretty easily now.
Yeah,
like a mock draft or something.
I'm curious, what does a guy like Hayden think of this? Because he's not in the top 70 right now. Well,
right. He's got actually close though.
I don't know. Yeah, like FedEx Cup points are different than official World Golf rankings, and I don't know which one dictates if they play in these events or not. Because I think it starts over every season, so he probably would be in it right now, because he had that T2 finish. Yeah. So he's probably up there. But like for the guys that are maybe hovering around the 100 mark, I guess if you have one good week, you can bump up pretty good. But it'd be interesting to hear from those guys on what their thoughts are. Is this a good thing? Is it bad? I know like the FedEx Cup playoffs, I think that's just narrowed down to the top 70 this year now too, right? So that kind of knocks those guys out that wouldn't have been in there, or that would have made it last year and then are able to play their way into the next week. But a lot of moving pieces, and I don't care what anybody says, none of this would be happening. Maybe some of it would be happening, but none of it would have happened this fast without all of the Live Golf stuff that came about. And really push this agenda forward, right? And I think it's kind of cool that it's making the PGA Tour be a little more innovative and making them like look at what they've been doing. What are the holes? What can we shore up? How can we keep our players happy? How can we keep the fans happy, or bring some new life to the PGA Tour, which I think is neat.
Yeah, it's an interesting organization. It's like the NCAA, where they don't really. I would say they don't do anything, but they're not really a thing. Like the NFL, they're all owners, they're all part of the league. Or like the NCAA is not a school or anything. Like the PGA is just a
governing body. Yeah,
that's it. Right. So why do they get to do whatever they want? So yeah, I think I'd be curious how long this Live thing will last. I mean, they've got pretty deep pockets, but eventually it's like, this is just not working at all. And I know.
Did anybody watch it this past weekend?
No, I heard the ranking or the ratings were terrible. Go ahead, Mark. Sorry.
I watched 20 minutes of it.
Me too.
It was interesting. And then I watched Chris Kirk and those guys play at the Honda, because it was more interesting to me.
Yeah, and Mark, do you think it's like, I was kind of in the same boat. Like I turned it on. I probably watched about the same, about 20 minutes. And I didn't know if it was okay. I'm just not familiar with this. And so it doesn't really feel like watching real golf to me yet. I don't know why, but I really don't care for the guys being in shorts. I think it just looks so casual. And I kind of feel like if you're going to do this team thing that they're doing, I think it should be like all in, like
Uniforms.
like legit uniform. We've talked about that too, Rano. Like having like all in like uniforms. It just looked like me and my buddies out playing golf. Like I feel like when we do our Ryder Cup, we have better uniforms than those guys did. Like we looked like more of a team than they did. It just looks like a bunch of dudes playing golf on a Sunday with their, shorts and regular shirts and whatever. I'm like, if you're going to really tout this team thing and you're trying to change the way the game is played and viewed, like there has to be something different when I'm watching that really makes me feel that. And I don't know, it just felt pretty stale to me.
Just a bunch of rich guys out there playing golf with their buddies.
Yeah.
Like to me it was like a show based on golf. It was like a production of a golf show versus here's a golf competition.
Yeah. The other thing that I really did not care for was like they're all on different holes, and like it didn't really matter because I tuned in on Saturday, but I could see like on the final day, like they're all on different holes, so you don't know who's finishing where and who's like with it being a shotgun weird start. It was just kind of strange because that maybe Charles Howell is going to be finishing up on hole number 7, and he's got these last 3 holes to play, but it's 5, 6, 7, and then you've got Westwood finishing up on 9, 10, 11, and it's like you kind of want to see them finish off on the same holes, and maybe that's just because that's how we've always grown up watching it, but just feels weird. Feels like I'm kind of lost watching.
Yeah, and it's like every race has a finish line, not 18 different finish lines.
Yeah.
So like what I guess every golfer, probably professional golfer, tell you the best feeling is walking out 18 at the Masters in front of the gallery. We're like,
how do you have a gallery like to finish
seriously
off, right?
Yeah, Tiger, because everybody follows him, but that'd be about it.
Yeah.
But to have like a main, it doesn't. Yeah, you're right, Mark. That's weird. It doesn't. It's not like a viewer friendly at all. And really, there
are some good. I kind of like the good thing about the shotgun is everybody is finishing at the same time. So when you see a leaderboard, you don't have to do the math and go, okay, well you're here, but you have so many holes to play. So
right.
You're going when everybody's done 17 holes,
right.
How it's kind of, so there's certain parts of it that I think are kind of interesting, but it is different. So it's weird.
Yeah, we should get used to it. But
yeah, maybe I shouldn't out myself like this, but I will report back at the end of May because they're coming to my club.
Oh, really?
Running the Marshall committee for it. So I got to figure out all this stuff, like how we did the senior PGA here a few years ago, and it was more traditional event, running Marshalls and finishing on 18 and all of that stuff. So now it's a shotgun, and 4.5 hours they're in and out, and but there's no finishing hole. So where are people? They're not all huddled around 18.
Yeah, you'll definitely have to report back. I would totally go to an event just to see it. Like
it's at my club. I mean, I gotta.
How can you not? Yeah.
DJ and Mickelson and all these guys play my golf course. Yeah, so I got
which club are they going to?
Yeah, which
Mark?
Club is it?
Which club am I at?
Yeah.
Well, no, I have to tell a little bit of a story of this. I live about 5 minutes from what is now Trump National, Washington D.C. It used to be club. I joined it 30 years ago when it was Lowe's Island Club. It's right up the street from my house, but it's right on the Potomac River, and some New York state reality TV show guy bought it, 15 years ago, and put his name on it. So
Some reality show guy. That was pretty awesome. Who was it? Oh, okay. I remember. I think I
Yeah.
remember that guy.
That's funny.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Well, you know what I was just thinking of? How do they know? Like, obviously they've got cameras everywhere, but like on the 18th, they've got cameras everywhere. When you know that that's going to be the finishing thing.
I don't
the
know how
finishing hole.
do they put the leaders to where they'll finish in the last holes, or just random? I don't know. I got to figure that out.
Yeah, you'll be the
Yeah.
you'll be the expert at this shortly.
I'll give you a full report. It's Memorial Day weekend, so I'll see how that goes. By the way, just real quick, not to jump back. Hayden is in the FedEx points list and 106th in the world golf rankings.
What was he in FedEx?
26.
26. Awesome.
That's fantastic.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I listened to. I was just walking my dog, and I listened to a good podcast. Alan Shipnuck, the Fire Pit Collective, had an interview with Peter Malnati, who's
Mhm.
on tour board, and he's lower ranked than Hayden. I forget what he is. He's like 75th or something on the FedEx Cup. But his whole point of being on the board was to represent the middle and bottom tier of the tour players, and hated this idea of these no-cut limited fields events. Went into the meetings to try to torpedo it, and basically said they talked him through the whole benefit of it to every level of PGA Tour player.
Mm-hmm.
And he became a convert and said, yeah, the low end guys and the mid end guys, because the next designated event, these guys weren't playing it's kind of weird logic. These top guys weren't playing the Honda. So Chris Kirk now is going to be in these, would be in these designated events now, would be in these, in the top 50, might get in these things. That there's the difference. He said the difference between live and this is you work your way in and out of it. It's not like you get picked and you're in this separate category. You earn your way into the top 50. And he said about 18 players move in and out of that on average every year. So if you play well, you can get in. And if you play poorly, you can get out. But he was a convert, and he said a number of times that he really hated the idea, was going to torpedo it, and then became sold on it. So and he's a mid, lower level PGA Tour guy for
Right.
one.
Yeah, he's a Mizzou guy right now.
Yeah,
Another one.
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah, I'll have to check that out, because I know that there's details that I don't understand. And what's funny with Chris Kirk is, and they mentioned it several times on the broadcast, he actually skipped was it the Genesis?
Yeah.
To take a week off to go and play the Honda, because he would have been in, but just decided, like, I've never played well at Riviera, so I'm going to skip it, go to the Honda, take my chances, which they said that Keith Mitchell was planning on doing that as well, and then last minute decided to go play the Genesis at Riviera because he'd never made a cut there, and then he came in third place, I believe. So
George.
good decision, but no, I'll have to check that out. That's good to know that podcast will kind of lay things out a little bit more.
The initial reaction is, hey, this just favors the top guys, and
Yeah,
That's what it looks like.
jump and ship. And so that's where he went in going, yeah, I don't want to do that. And it's like, no, everybody benefits from this. So it was interesting.
very cool. Awesome. All right. Big news. I officially scored my ticket down to the Players Championship. So maybe I'll get a chance to ask Hayden a few of these questions on that Saturday or Sunday when we're celebrating his win of the Players
Yeah.
Championship down there. Yeah.
Sunday night.
Party in the RV.
My buddy Marty Boozer Cruz lives in Jacksonville.
Oh yeah, that's right.
So there you go. Greatest last name of a guy who loves to have fun.
Yeah,
Boozer
Boozer
Cruz.
Cruz. So crazy. I always thought that you guys just made that up, and then realized it was really his real name.
It sounds bad. I think he was named it, and then they just had to live up to it.
Right. Yeah. Well,
And
Pigeonholed.
he has. Yeah, he is pigeonholed.
pigeonholed. Awesome. What else we got cooking? I know we've got a bit of a topic today. Anybody have any, before we jump into any of our standard topic stuff? As we always say, like, this is a Crew and A call. So if you guys have any pending questions, anything, I know Ryan, we maybe had a couple questions from last week.
We did. Let me, obviously we'll default to the live folks, but yeah, there were a couple from last week that we didn't get to. All right. Anyone? Marina, you always have a good question.
Yeah. Well, I just started my back nine, my 40 days back nine. So I'm quite excited. I had a little bit more than a week in between, and I was so ready to start it again. I went to see my mum in Finland for a long weekend. And
we know what happened last time.
There's so many buns. Oh, there's so many buns. It's so bad. And this time I had the kids along, and they just love them, and I couldn't resist the chocolate. It's really good chocolate. So coming back, it feels really good to start again. But I'm not quite sure which program I'm going to go with. I think I'm going to go with the last month's program, which I, to be honest, didn't do all of last month. So I think I'm going to restart with February program, which is quite nice. And I'm still thinking about these intense max outs. Not overdoing it completely, and just starting a little bit sort of slowly. And but yeah, no, it's good. It's all is good. I'm not sure I got too many questions today.
Once we get going, I'm sure we'll spark a few here.
Yeah. Regarding the 1 minute max out. So don't overthink it either. Like there are times when I'm at home, and I learned this from my buddy Brian Bradley from Agascu, and he does it. He speaks at all of the Tony Robbins events. Like he gets up on stage and he talks about Agascu there and gets the crowd going, and they do some different exercises, which is kind of cool, just kind of keep the energy up. And one of the things that he does, he calls it the greatest ab exercise in the world, and it's called the Running Man. And basically you kind of get in a little bit of I'm in a little bit of a split stance. So one foot's in front of the other, and then he just tightens up the stomach, and then he just does like a really fast arms back and forth, and it gets your torso all lit up. When I'm at home, that a lot of times that's my go-to. Doesn't, your 1 minute max out doesn't have to be anything crazy. You don't always have to have a machine or anything. And that's one that you can do anywhere that you are. So it's a great one. Like if you forget and it's like right before bed and you're like, oh God, I gotta, but so you can get that in without having to go find a jump rope or a piece of equipment or go running outside or doing anything stupid. But it's great because it gets your heart rate up. I mean, it's hard to breathe. You feel your abs working. So that's kind of like this top secret one that I've been doing lately. And it's funny because I'll typically like go hide somewhere in my house so my kids don't come by like, what are you doing?
This guy has officially lost it.
Yeah, right.
He's supposed to be my dad. Jesus.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that one. I could have done that today because I was on the range and I decided, I got to do my 1 minute, full on. So there were people on the range. I tried to go a little bit to the side when I was starting to sort of on the spot run as fast as I could. And I was just hoping nobody was watching. And then after that, I did my 1 minute Tai Chi golf swing. So if somebody was watching me, they thought, well, now she's really gone nuts, But yeah, that's a really good one. I'm going to do that one. Yes, thanks.
Yeah. And like the running in place is great. That's a great one. You could do like high knees. You could do just some of those simple little things. So don't overcomplicate it. You can make it hard. It's just about getting your heart rate up. It's about, doing something with a little bit more intensity. I just read Andrew Huberman, Dr. Huberman mentioned that, at least once a week, you should do something to get your heart rate up to basically max intensity. I forget how long he said for, but like between like a minute or a minute or 2 minutes or something like that. He said couple more times would be even better, but at least doing it once a week is very beneficial for cardiovascular endurance, overall health, general health. So that's
Very
kind of the intent.
What have you two done for your personal commitments? You know, the extra one that you have been putting off for a while, and what are you doing? I'm doing 30 minutes reading every day, reading my book every day.
So what I'm doing is I have my daily planner, and the one that I use is called the Full Focus Journal, and it has the, like your top 3 priorities of the day on there, almost like your KPIs. And so my daily commitment is that every morning I will write those out, and then I have to check them every evening. And it's not that I have to complete them, but I have to go in and say, did I do them? Did I not do them? And then I put a W or an L at the top of the page. Did I win the day or did I lose that commitment as far as getting those done? But my commitment is to actually do the journal in the morning and check it in the evening.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay, you want to take a couple questions here, Bodini?
Yeah, great.
All right. So what resources would you recommend for finding a defined golf drill program to get better at swings and ball strikes? So there are so many programs out there, and I'm struggling to find one that, other than watching videos on YouTube. And he's right. There are about 1 million of them out there.
Yeah. So what I would suggest is find one and go with it. I don't know that, I mean, we've got a couple of our friends that we would definitely recommend. They have different programs. The ones that come to the top of my head would be Adam Young.
Yep.
He's got the strike plan. That one's going to be a little technical. I haven't been through the whole thing, but Adam does a great job. He has written a book called The Practice Manual, which I think is probably one of the best-selling golf books of recent years for sure, as far when it comes to practicing. It's a pretty hefty and intense book, or I don't know if intense is the right word, but there's a lot to it. So some golf nuts will love it. Some will think it's overkill, but the strike plan that he has, and he may be called the attack plan, but he has some great visuals in there to understand what's going on with the club. What are the mechanics and the physics of the club, the ball, how is that all interacting together? And then, how you can utilize that to practice better and play better. So Adam Young is great. Will Robbins. Do you remember the name of his? It was something code. That one's almost the opposite of Adams.
Right. I can figure this out.
But Will Robbins, and we've done interviews with both these guys on the podcast. His is way more about, what's your intention of your game? Obviously, your intention is to score lower.
Scoring method.
The
Right.
scoring method.
Yep.
And so that's going to be a little bit more about strategy. And so that's going to be less about, like mechanics. That's going to be more about strategy around how to literally play and score better, and doing it with your current skill level. Now, you're going to get better at golf because you're going to be doing things better and more efficiently. And I'm sure there's some drills in there even to make you play better. So Will Robbins is another one. Trent Warner is golf scrimmages. Trent he's all about learning to practice properly. So much like other sports, he says golf is the worst practice sport ever. And I would think that our buddies from the Lost Art of Golf, Carl and Gary, would probably agree with that the way that most of us practice is simply to go to the driving range and hit a bunch of balls, really typically not having a whole lot of intention when we're out there. But going out and having a game that you're going to play on the putting surface, in the short game area, even on the driving range, to have some sort of consequences and games built up that you're going to play and you're going to score yourself on is a much better way to practice. So Trent Warner would be great for that. And then another good friend of ours is Martin Chuck. I saw that he has a new program out. I haven't been through it. I haven't seen it all, but I've always liked the way that Martin teaches and explains things. I remember years ago when he was on Revolution Golf, we bought his one of his programs for my dad, because my dad always really liked his videos and just liked the way that he explained and described things. His will be a little bit more like different drills you can do, a little bit more education on, the body and clubs and what you're doing and your interaction with the ball, and some drills on how to improve your striking and things like that. I don't know what his new one's called, but if you go online and type in Tour Striker or Martin Chuck, that's a great one too. So again, I haven't been fully through any of these completely, but I would say that pick one and just go with that. Don't keep searching around and looking at this tip from George Gankis and this tip from Martin Chuck and this tip from Adam Young and this one from Will Robbins, because everybody, there's so many different ways to teach or so many different ways that people teach the golf swing, that if you start to piece different instructors together, you're never going to solve the puzzle. But if you have one good quality instructor, all of their teachings should all kind of align into you getting better. But it'd be like going to, 4 different nutrition coaches and getting different advice from them or strength training. And it just, you got to find one that you trust. And then you got to kind of take that leap of faith, like, okay, this is what I'm doing. And I'm going to trust that what they're teaching me is going to be helpful.
Yeah. I always like to, Chire swears by the AMG guys.
Oh yeah. The AMG guys too.
Yeah. Mike and Sean over there. Those guys are awesome.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you for mentioning that. Cause for me, as of lately, I've told you guys I'm working closely with Casey now on my own stuff. I like watching Mike and Sean's because it relates very much to what Casey's doing just from the 3D standpoint. So I'm getting a better visual, and I know that it's objective because it's basically 3D data. It's not just their opinions on, what they think somebody should be doing in golf swing. But again, I would say if you're going to follow an online teacher and you're actually going to start doing their drills and everything, try to stick with just one, because there's going to be more consistency and coherence.
Yep. Okay. Assuming that golf won't start in Northern Illinois for another 5 to 6 weeks, how much golf fitness can you acquire in that amount of time? All of it. What are the 1 or 2 things that you should work on?
Without knowing anything about the person asking the question, what their goals are, I would say probably first you start working on the fact that you're moving well. Make sure that your hips are moving well. Make sure your thoracic spine's moving well. Make sure that your core and trunk are, you're doing some work for that to stay strong and protect yourself. That would probably be where I would start. So even, just something as simply as doing the EFDs and getting all of those pieces moving. Then I'd say, a program that just kind of starts you out on the basic stuff, the pushes, the pull. I mean, it sounds like this person probably hasn't been doing much at all.
Yeah,
and so to jump into anything, like super specific without going through some sort of evaluation, I wouldn't do. I would say, let's just stick to the big rocks, stick to the basics. Let's get you pushing, pulling, hinging, squatting, and rotating, doing those, 5 big ones. But make sure that you're doing some general mobility to make sure that the thoracic spine's rotating well, the hips are rotating well, and that you can really swing a club without hurting yourself.
Yeah. So that actually leads into the third one that I had, was kind of similar, but into what we're talking about today is taking a step back so that you can take 2 steps forward, or going slow so that then you can go fast. Mm-hmm. So yeah, one of the questions was, do I need to be worried about my mobility as I'm getting stronger? So how do you kind of equate that? I'm putting you on the spot here to put those 2 things together.
Yeah. I mean, if your mobility is a big issue, you're not going to be able to get as strong as you could. right? So if you're lacking mobility in your hips or your ankles or your shoulder, you're not going to be able to take an exercise through a full range of motion, which is going to inhibit how much strength you can generate, especially obviously through that full range of motion. That's the ideal. Is we don't just want you to be able to, bench press 300 pounds, but only be able to come down 3 inches and go back up, right? Like we want you to be able to go all the way through that full range of motion. Same with any of your lower body exercises, within reason. I mean, everybody's going to have their own limitations, and some we're going to try to fix, and some we're going to say, okay, that's about as good as we're going to get. Let's kind of work our way around it a little bit. But if you know that you have certain limitations, I would say, yeah, you have to prioritize working on some of those and find exercises that you can build strength with, where you're not having to compensate around that limitation, if that makes sense. So an easy example would be if you have really tight calves and your ankles can't, we would say dorsiflex enough, or if, like if this is my ankle, my toes going up towards my shin would be dorsiflexion.
Right.
So if your ankle doesn't have great range of motion there, it's going to really limit what you can do lower body wise, like in a squat or a split squat or a lunge or a leg press or any of that. And so if I have somebody that has really limited ankle mobility, I can't just throw them into a squat pattern flat on the floor, because they're not going to be able to get down very low because they're inhibited by their ankle. And I see this a lot with high school golfers, especially high school boys. They love when they get into this mentality of, hey, I want to start lifting weights. They start to get into, backloaded squat, barbell squats, and, maybe they're going to the strength. They have a strength class or whatever. They're starting to lift weights at the school weight room. And it's all about, the testosterone driven. How much can you squat? How much can I throw on the bar? But when they do a squat, if they don't have that ankle range of motion, all of a sudden they're like leaning forward, their butt's going backwards and not getting down low enough. So now they're putting a lot of stress on their back, and they're just creating a lot of terrible patterns and habits. And it all stems from the ankle not being mobile enough. So in that situation, I'd change that exercise a little bit. Maybe I wouldn't have them backload squat at all, but I'd lift their heels up a little bit. Maybe even, that's why you see people wear those lifting shoes. They have elevated heels, so it kind of lifts the heels up a little bit, which takes some of that stress off the ankles. Here we have incline boards, where almost more often than not, I'll have people up on the incline boards. It also changes the force on the legs to put a little more stress on the quads. But then outside of that exercise, we'll also have them doing like some homework exercises to improve that ankle mobility. So they'll be working on that. Could be at the end of their workouts, when they're, still sticking around here, kind of cooling down, doing some mobility and stretching and things like that to get the calf and the ankle to move a little bit more. Could be in between exercises where they're just doing a couple little stretches while they're kind of resting, or just on, many of our programs just have like a move day or mobility day. And that's where you would work on some of that mobility type stuff too. So you're not losing the ability to gain strength, because we're still doing other exercises where you're trying to build strength, but you have to address some of those limitations, and you just got to find time to work on those. So you kind of find what are the big things that they're struggling with, take a couple exercises to help work on that, but do that kind of outside your program or afterwards, or where it's not impacting the actual strength exercise that you're trying to build from.
Gotcha. So if you, along the lines of fat loss, what would be a take a step back so that you can take 2 steps forward example?
Well, so this, if you guys have never listened to the Mind Pump podcast, it's a great podcast. 3 guys, all from the strength and fitness industry, but they just have a lot of topics. I think they do a daily show, and they were just talking about this a couple days ago. One would be in a fat loss sense, oftentimes you'll see people trying to do way too much to lose that fat quickly, right? So let's say you have somebody that's working out, and when I say working out, I mean like going to the gym, doing weights like 5 days a week. And then they're also doing 4 days of cardio. And they're trying to do that with the intent of burning calories.
Sure.
But what's happening is they're going to the gym 5 days to build strength, but then they're doing a ton of cardio after that. And so what they're doing is they're trying to build muscle, but then they're also like kind of depleting their system by doing all this cardio. And it's almost like the two are kind of working against each other. And so sometimes in that situation, if they just cut out some of the cardio or took it from, let's say it was they're doing like the elliptical or they're running on a treadmill or whatever, maybe just back that off to walking and doing something, way less intense on their body, and focus more on the building of strength or building of muscle in their workouts. They're actually going to give their body a signal that, it's time to build muscle, not break everything down. So by taking a little stress off the body, it's going to let the body do what it needs to actually repair and recover and get stronger, which ultimately will help build muscle, which ultimately will help burn more fat. And so it becomes a more efficient system as opposed to trying to do it the other way by just simply crushing energy expended calories by doing all the cardio. Does that make sense?
Yeah, because we're all kind of taught that. I mean, how many people January 1st, I'm going to start jogging, because everybody seems to think that is the way to lose fat. But yeah, so just the act of your muscles repairing burns calories, correct?
Yeah. And the more muscle mass that you have, and I'm not talking like Arnold Schwarzenegger muscle mass, but
Right.
just the bigger your muscle fibers become, the more energy that your body expends just throughout the day to function. So you're burning calories more throughout the day. And the amount of calories that you burn in one session of cardio compared to the amount of calories that you're burning daily just by your body being alive,
Mm-hmm.
The cardio calories really are kind of minuscule when it comes to that. So the more intent that you can put into, building up the muscle fibers, that's in the long run going to produce more calorie expenditure over time and less stress on your system, which again, just makes your body more efficient at doing what it's supposed to do.
Gotcha. So once again, lifting weights wins out.
Yeah.
Well, and really, the kitchen is where you lose fat more than any place. So I guess
Yeah, I mean that's really going to be, that's where everybody has gone wrong, is thinking that the exercise is the end all be all for fat loss, where really it's what you're eating, what you're not eating, and then how your body's utilizing that. So the combination of your diet and then strength training really is more the crux than how many calories you're going to burn on the treadmill, which it's just that doing the treadmill stuff makes you sweat, makes you feel like you're getting a lot of work done. But ultimately, yeah, the kitchen is where most of that takes place. Kitchen and planning,
Right. Yeah, I know a number of people in my life who do like Orange Theory and things like that pretty religiously, or even like run half marathons. And they are so puzzled that they're not losing any weight. But then we have a dinner, like that right there is why you're not losing any weight. When when your plate is piled way higher than mine, and I outweigh you by 75 pounds, maybe not 75, but 50 pounds, that's not right.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that and typically when we talk about lifting weights and most people think that, okay, well, that's more of a guy thing, but I can point to an example of my wife when Sue started actually lifting weights instead of just doing like some of the, a little bit more cardio circuit based videos that, I think that the Jillian from Biggest
Jillian
Loser
Michaels.
for Jillian Michaels for a long
Right.
time, she had all these videos out. And so Sue was doing some of those, would do some of these other little workout videos, and they'd be a little bit more like lightweight, tons of repetitions, some cardio stuff, some circuit stuff. And it wasn't until I really convinced her to start coming to the gym, or she got a gym membership, or she'd come into the gym where I was working at the time. We'd put on a program. We even had, sometimes the husband-wife dynamic of coach, wife doesn't work out so well. So, or when I was, in the physical therapy clinic, like patient, just not the greatest combination. So I had Tony, our buddy Tony, write her a program, because then it was like, if I wrote a program, it could be, oh, I don't like this exercise, or I don't want to do that. Or I'm like, hey, you talk to Tony. He's the one that gave you these exercises. So anyway,
Right.
I digress. But it wasn't until she started doing that and started realizing the benefit and how she felt when doing some heavier lifting, some deadlifts, some squats, lunges, split squats, like with dumbbells, some barbell stuff. And now, I mean, we've got a barbell down our basement, and she goes down there 3-4 times a week and is doing, some of these heavier exercises. And she doesn't do any cardio. She eats, we eat pretty well, obviously. But, no cardio whatsoever, with the exception of maybe going on a walk, taking the dog on a walk multiple times a week. And she looks great, I mean, muscle wise. And it's because she's doing this stuff that is building up that metabolism. She's built more strength, more muscle mass, but doesn't look, she's not bulky, she looks great. And I think it's been easier for her to keep that physique over the years because of that, or I know for a fact. And it just goes to show that it's not just a guy thing; it's a human thing. That doing strength training, doing resistance training is superior to just mashing yourself on the cardio circuit all the time.
Yeah, which is no fun anyway.
Yeah. Go ahead, Marina.
I always used to go to the gym, but I used to do the cardio most of the time, or few of the machines that were there. But I never dared to go to the weight room with all the dudes there. Whereas now I feel quite comfortable and I really love it. I don't do hardly any cardio, and I really feel the difference. I really, honestly,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how many years I've been now a member of 18 Strong, but it's really changed my attitude, and it feels really good. I just feel stronger and leaner, and without too much, you don't, yes, you sweat, but you don't sweat like you do a full out rowing machine or cross trainer or whatever. And it's much more fun.
I agree. Yeah, 100%. My wife is the same way. I can't remember the last time she jogged. And she tells me I hate jogging. Like,
Yeah.
You did for a long time. Yeah, and she'll be the first one to tell you, it makes you a little tighter, a little less doughy.
Oh, definitely.
But
Yeah,
I
definitely.
do like this 1 minute sort of max out, because it does get the heart rate up really quite nicely. I mean, the heart rate goes up also when I do the weights, but I find it's different for 1 minute you do the max out, and that really makes me feel good as well.
Yeah, I think that there's definitely a benefit to doing some sort of, like in the Golf Body Blueprint, there's the interval days. And I really like having that blend in there of, the 1 minute max out. That's kind of the thing in the back nine where it's just a minute a day. But I do think that there's a lot of benefit to having a longer session of that, at least once a week, where you really are, because 1 minute is great, but you're not going to get your heart rate up for an extended period of time like you would in the interval sessions. And there is a lot of benefit to that. If there's one thing that I have been kind of lacking on my current programs or most recent programs, is tying in a little bit of that, where getting on a rower or getting on a bike and pushing the heart rate up a little bit. When we were doing those Sunday smash sessions for the Forge, that was something that we did quite a bit at the end of our workouts. And it was great to kind of get that in there as well. So I would highly recommend, adding a little piece of that in there if somebody's not doing that.
Cool. All right. 301, my man.
All right.
Any
Just-
last minute questions?
Yeah, one last thing, we're talking about one step back to go 2 steps forward, because I think we didn't quite hit that as hard as I was planning on today. But sometimes if somebody's doing the Forge, or you're on a program where you're doing the same kind of thing for a long period of time, and what kind of sparked this was I changed up my program for this month, just because I feel like I've been doing similar stuff for such a long time, as far as the weights that I do, the style of workouts. And, I've been very open that I've had some back issues as of, the last year really, and have gone to a couple of professionals and working on some different therapeutic exercise and stuff. And I told my wife the other day, I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to take this next month. My programming is going to be all about, taking load off of my spine and still working out, but not nearly going as heavy as I would on the weights, paying a lot more attention to my mobility, a lot more core stuff. And as hard as it is for me to back off of some of that, because, I like the lifting of the weights, and, you want some of that for just the aesthetics piece. But I know that if I do this right and take the time and do things properly, yeah, it kind of sucks for the time being to not work out the way that you want to work out. But
Right.
then next month, or 2 months down the road, 6 months down the road, it's going to allow me to do the things so much better. Kind of like the question we had about the mobility. It's going to allow me to do it so much better when I do kind of get back into these things, because, if you're compensating, if something's hurting, sometimes you just have to kind of chill out a little bit on that, do something else that's going to help your body improve and heal and get better. And that's going to allow you to be a little stronger going into whatever the next phase is. So, if you're always lifting weights, or let's say it is somebody that's a little bit more heavy on the cardio piece, like sometimes taking a step back from whatever you're really into and doing and have been doing for a long time, take a step back, figure out what are some of the other things that you can do that might kind of shore up some of the holes in your boat. And then you can kind of step back in and really ultimately you're going to be that much stronger moving forward, because you ended up taking the time, just like what we were talking about with my conversation with Casey about learning the golf swing. And, sometimes you take a step back to kind of hone in on the fundamentals a little bit more. And then that's going to allow you to be so much stronger out on the golf course with the way that you're playing, your technique, your body movements, everything.
Yeah, I like that. I know it's hard to get away from that, especially when your glamour muscles may suffer a little bit.
Right. And it is funny how sometimes by doing that, just like the cardio example we were talking about, sometimes by stopping some of the things that you've been doing so much, it almost lets your body say it. You'd be surprised. Like just last week, somebody came up to me and they're like, man, you look like you're getting a little stronger, getting a little thicker. And I was like, really? Because I've really been laying off a lot of the, it's just,
Right.
Sometimes you feel like your body's just allowing itself to heal and recover and doing what you want, what you've been striving so hard for, but haven't really been letting it recover and heal and do what it needs to do. And so sometimes it's almost counterintuitive when you stop doing your cardio that you're actually going to get leaner,
Right.
or you stop lifting as heavy and you start to feel better and actually get and look a little stronger. So just a little word of advice there.
It's a funny thing, the human body.
Yes, it is.
Got it all figured out. Okay, cool. Yeah, this week, what do we have this weekend? By the way, we've got the very first MLS soccer game in St. Louis Saturday night. So Bodie and I will both be there with our well, one of his sons and my son. So that's
Yep.
a huge day.
Yeah, big one. Stay tuned for some good stories on Instagram. We'll have a couple cool pictures from the new stadium. It's pretty sweet, pretty awesome place.
That's pretty bare to the bone. What's the PGA event this weekend?
Bay Hill.
This is Bay
Yeah,
Hill.
that's right.
Yep.
Yep.
So
Is that- is
Hayden
there my
Buckley,
sophomore year?
Hayden Buckley's birthday week, so maybe he'll pull something out pretty good this week. But and then win again next weekend at the Players Championship while I'm down there.
It's all happening.
All happening. All right, guys. Have a great week. We'll see you next Thursday.
I'll catch you guys later.
Thank you.